I think it's great that you were teaching the young kids. I mean, that's just such a great, first of all, I think that being around people that young keeps you younger. And I think that any kind of teaching helps you as much as a teacher as it does the students. I mean, I always find it.
You do learn yourself.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
You learn what not to do in many cases.
But it also, I mean, you're such a great role model for the kids, because they can see that, you know, you can be doing art so late in life. It doesn't matter. You know, you don't stop being an artist just because you get older.
I don't really quite remember how it all works, except it did, and I was serious about it. The only drawback was that at the end of the day, when I was teaching these after-school things, one of the things that the instructors had to do was clean up the room. And by this time, with all these kids running around and with pastels and other materials, I think I worked harder cleaning the room than I did with them. Anyway, I always left a clean room.
Right. Well, that's good.
And the other thing was I had to take all of these heavy seats and put them back upside down. That's hardly work for an artist, but anyway, I did it.
Well, I think a lot of teachers end up doing things that don't seem like they're teaching.
The whole several years that I taught kids was very enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I did want to talk, one of the things I did want to talk about was one of the books that you had written, which had such a great sense of humor, and I enjoyed this book so much. And a copy of this book is available in the library. And you were going to tell us a story about the book.
Oh, yeah. This is the only book extant that has a typo on the jacket. And I can't blame anybody else because I designed the jacket and I read it over several times. And the word was commercial. It had to do with commercial artists. But what is on here is the word chimerical. And as the book was sold to several people, they called me and said, "What does chimerical mean?" I said, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." And they said, "Well, we saw it on your book." Then somebody pointed out that chimerical is not commercial, or vice versa. So,
well, here's one of the illustrations that's inside the book, which shows the kind of work that you do.
Well, yes, that's typical of what I do, and every other page has an illustration that size. The other thing I did for that book was to change the typeface on every other page.
Yes, I did notice that, that at the bottom you said what the typeface was. So on this side is a page that would be of
the text. Yeah,
and then you would say down here what the typeface was.
So that just gave another little dimension.
Right.
Because typography is something that interests me greatly, and that comes from having been an art director and a designer. So in the end, if you live long enough, and I'm beginning to feel I have, it all comes together.
Well, and there are very funny stories of sort of what it's like to be an art director, and sort of inside jokes of what life is like. And of course, that has all changed because of the computer again, as we were talking about.
One day I'd like to meet that kid who said to me, "You're pretty old to be doing this," and say, "Well, I'm 15 years older now than when I said that."
And so is he.
Yes, yeah. Any case, put it all together. One of the pleasures of living a good long life is that you gather all this stuff and it's material to use, and it's a wonderful profession, and it's a great way of life, and can't say enough about it.
Well, and you continue to be very involved. You just had a couple years ago at the Westport Art Center, you had an exhibition of your work.
Yeah.
And you're very active at the Westport Art Center.
Yes, that's something that I spend a lot of time with. And one of the other involvement I've had is hanging the shows. I don't do that. There are 3 of us who do it, and I do it less than I used to because it's just
physically challenging.
Yeah, and often the work had to be carried in from the outside and so on. So, but I'm still active, and I now mostly introduce the people whose show it is. And another nice thing that's going to happen there is that I don't know whether you know about the Westport School Collection.
Yes.
every school in Westport is decorated with work of Westport artists, and they're permanent gifts. The last I heard about myself, I had given 18 drawings and cartoons to it, and that's a permanent thing, and they're up for the kids of all the Westport schools, every one of them from high school down,
right,
to see every day, and so that's another nice thing. So living in Westport and being an artist has many rewards, and I'm just so tickled to have been part of it.
Well, one of the other things that actually is associated with the school system, because the school program, they had begun or sponsored the program The Years in the Making, which was a documentary movie of late life creativity. All the artists are over 70.
Yeah.
They're Westport residents. They did a documentary, and then they did 1-hour DVDs of collection of works of interviews of the artists, and you're one of the artists. I can't wait till I get
And I'm way over 80. And counting.
And counting, yes. Yes, but what I found fascinating is so many of them, of the artists in that, are really taking, their work is taking off in a whole new direction. I mean, it's certainly, it's not even that they slow down, they just, it's sort of like, okay, I'm this age now, I get permission to be whoever I want to be, and so I can do whatever I want to do.
Well, one does that, and
yes.
So that's what I do, whatever I want to do.
That's great.
And nobody's buying it anymore, so nobody's stopping me from doing anything I want to do. What I mean by that, about nobody buying it, it's not strictly true. I had a one-person show recently and that did well, but the commercial work has slowed down almost to nothing, because everybody's cut their budgets. The newspapers and the magazines have cut the budgets. Right. And I don't go to New York anymore and to show my samples, which I used to do. Right. And that's how you get work. Right. But when you're elderly and you don't climb trees anymore and you don't paint the house anymore and those things, it's wonderful to have your artwork to spend your time with.
Well, you go to a sketching class, you have for years.
Oh, yeah. Yes, there's a sketch class in Southport that I've been part of for about 7 years now, and it's once a week, and we have a model every week, a different one, and so we just draw for 3 hours, and life can't get nicer than that.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's put me off in a whole new direction of just drawing. I've always tried to find sketch classes wherever I have been, and there have been many of them in Westport, and Silvermine, of course, is a famous sketch class that goes on forever. I was a member there many years ago, and so it's a wonderful exercise, and I use it to experiment with. I changed techniques, I changed the materials, and sit in a different place, and it comes out a little different.
That's great.
So it's once a week.
Yeah. Well, you said that you also always have a painting going?
The painting going, yes. Yeah. Well, that's what I do at home. When I'm not at the sketch class, I have a nice room to work in, and that's where I paint and do whatever it is I do. And I don't sit at the drawing board that much anymore. I work at the easel now. But I do a little bit of all of it, and a little carpentry in between. Not real carpentry, but making mats and working on frames and things. And I'm represented by a very nice gallery in Saugatuck, and they've done very well by me. And it's the Laura Barton Gallery, that's the name of it. Okay. A great gallery. It's a frame shop, really, and a very good one. So I'm happy to be part of that.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.